Chapter 724. What in the world was the situation? The prey was supposed to be the cavalry, but it seemed they were the ones being hunted. Could it be that the cavalry knew their plan from the very beginning? The awakeners of the Star of Nagran vehemently denied such a possibility in their minds, but their hearts told a different story. They struggled to break free from the chaos, but no path of escape from the cavalry's encirclement was in sight. Yet, even in such dire straits, the southern merchants remained quietly on the sidelines, offering no significant assistance. Their eyes, cold and detached, watched the Star of Nagran awakeners fall and suffer, unlike their previous friendly demeanor. One of them had narrowly escaped the clutches of Duke Paleta, yet instead of harboring vengeance, they seemed preoccupied with something else. It was unclear what these seemingly observant and waiting merchants desired, but Sarah fervently hoped it was the promised opportunity for escape. Thus, she protected them with all her might as promised. Even Duke Paleta, who seemed to have easily gained the upper hand after reuniting with his men and issuing seamless orders, was keenly observing them. "Commander, we have almost finished arranging our members to protect the buildings around the branch and evacuating the civilians. Shall we now start suppressing them with our powers?" "We should, but I hesitate." "Pardon? Didn't you notice? There are those among them who have clearly inserted themselves without using much power." Presumably, these were the southern merchants they had missed in the west. What exactly was that strange magic attack they attempted earlier? Was it a one-time act? Kishir was disturbed by their cunningly passive behavior, as he hadn't yet fully understood the cause of the attack. To Kishir, they seemed like people waiting for something. What are they waiting for? The right moment to unleash a second attack on the cavalry, inflicting damage, an opportunity to escape, or something else entirely? It was hard to guarantee that a similar attack, if attempted again, would be thwarted at the right moment. The outcome of that magic power flow, once properly formed, was even beyond Kishir's speculation. If a more skilled and exceptional mage had been present, perhaps more could have been gleaned from the attempt and failure of the attack. Unfortunately, there was no such person here. If they were indeed waiting to launch that strange magic attack again, Kishir decided he couldn't recklessly send in the cavalry. Those not versed in magic wouldn't be able to perceive and react to the flow of magic power as quickly and accurately as Kishir, risking severe damage. Therefore, he temporarily postponed his plan to start suppressing them right after finishing the evacuation and preparations around the branch. Instead, he persistently observed the southern merchants, lost in thought. What could be a safe response that would minimize damage and quickly reveal their intentions? What were they waiting for, and what did they desire to achieve by doing this? Kishir Lahore's mind raced over a metamorphical board, pieces and markers moving across it, drawing dozens of potential tactics and outcomes. At the end of his contemplation, Kishir arrived at a conclusion he deemed the best. It was different to discern their intentions, but one thing was clear. If they were planning to confront the cavalry, they inevitably had to be concerned about the whereabouts of another person besides me. Kishir hinted at this with a knowing wink towards Yether, clearly believing Yether would understand who he was referring to. Of course, he meant Yether Ale, Kishir's assistant. When the enemies ambushed, Kishir had been alone. The absence of Nathan Zuckerman and Yether Ale, who should have been by his side, was not a concern when Kishir was solitary. However, the situation changed once he regrouped with his subordinates. Outnumbered and with Yether Ale known as one of the cavalry's strongest forces yet to appear, the enemy, if rational, would have realized that Duke Paleta being alone was not mere coincidence and would be on high alert for Yether's return. Nathan Zuckerman was also a knight of considerable skill, but his true capabilities remained unpublicized. With this in mind, Kishir saw clearly what he needed to do. If the enemy's objective was unknown, the best course was to present them with an opportunity, albeit one that seemed so but was actually a trap. It seemed best to feign carelessness, so that's what I did. That's Yiddir, who had been listening quietly, suddenly furrowed his brow and began to speak, then stopped himself. To think he didn't wield his weapon even when facing over 10 foes, yet drew his divine sword, feeling instinctive danger. He deliberately feigned carelessness before the enemy. It was an understanding yet perilously risky choice, uncharacteristic of the usual Kishir. But precisely because of that, the reason behind such a choice felt all the more apparent. If Kishir, who usually sought to minimize harm to his allies, went to such lengths to discern the southern merchant's intentions, it meant he judged the situation as extremely dangerous had their attack succeeded. Known for prioritizing safety, Kishir was also someone who wouldn't hesitate to shed his own blood if deemed necessary, a realization Yiddir had already come to in a previous life. The image of Kishir, who had once stood bare against the colossal Patomat, throwing himself into destruction, momentarily flashed in Yiddir's mind, chilling his hands. But he bit his lip, casting away the memory. No, seeing that he is unharmed now, his feigned carelessness must not have been too perilous. Let's continue listening. Yet, his twitching eyebrows and the cold expression couldn't completely hide Yiddir's emotions. If it was an act of carelessness, how did you go about it? Well, isn't it obvious? I loudly complained of exhaustion from using too much power in my frail body, told them to leave the rest to my assistant and adjutant sent on errands, and pretended to go inside for a drink. It's natural to be thirsty after a fight. Is that all? That's all. Kishir smiled faintly. Yiddir blinked and looked at the surrounding members. Their sparkling eyes and nodding heads confirmed that Kishir's words were true. Really? This guy, he's so crazy and smart. Yiddir hesitated momentarily before asking, Did they believe you? They did. It was uncertain how convincing Kishir's acting had been, but apparently the enemies had truly believed his ruse. With Yiddir El, the most powerful hero of the West, confirmed to be away, and Kishir, the cavalry commander with unknown abilities, having retreated inside the branch, the enemies finally revealed their true colors. Not long after I feigned carelessness and went inside, I began to sense the signs of that magic attack again. However, it was heading in a slightly different direction than I had anticipated. Kishir, prepared to emerge at any moment using his Awakener abilities, leaped out with his divine sword the instant he sensed the signs. But what caught his eye was neither his members trying to fend off the attack nor the appearance of the enemies. They were all staring upwards, faces etched with shock, having discovered something. Kishir too halted in his tracks, realizing that the massive flow of power he had sensed as a sign of an attack was now condensing above their heads. Lifting his gaze, he saw a dark crack tearing through the sky like paper, its ominous and eerie presence looming over them. That crack, was it? Asked Yiddir. Kishir nodded in confirmation. Yes. The sudden appearance of the bizarre crack left everyone bewildered. A crack that tore through space signified the imminent emergence of monsters. Suddenly, here, in this place? What is this? How can a crack occur in a city? Cracks that spawn monsters did not follow any predictable patterns in terms of timing or location. However, there were certainly areas where they appeared more frequently and others where they were rarer. As a result, people chose to live away from places where cracks commonly appeared. Cities, especially, were areas where cracks appeared less frequently, and the empire's capital was famous for not having experienced a single crack in 1,000 years, thanks to the magic blessed by the Archmage Luma. But now, a crack had suddenly appeared right above the cavalry branch in the middle of such a city. While the members of the cavalry and the Star of Nagran were in a flurry, Anticipating the appearance of monsters, Kishir was the first to regain his composure. No, no, this isn't right. The crack is different from the ordinary ones that spawn monsters. Ordinary cracks would immediately spew out monsters and then disappear, but this one merely hovered in place, showing no signs of releasing anything even after several minutes. Kishir had seen such a peculiar crack before. It was in the Great Serene Forest in the west. A strange crack that simply existed, then vanished within the forest that only grew denser no matter how much it was cut down, and the sight of Yedi'el, who alone did not panic but stared at it gravely. Yedi's exhausted voice speaking of a disaster echoed in Kishir's mind.